Welcome to On the Chain. This is Chip, and Jeff is still away. But filling in for Jeff, we have none other than OG in the space. We have Rob Licker. Hey, Rob. Welcome to
Hey,
On
what's
the
up, buddy?
Chain. How you doing?
What's going on the chain?
Thanks for
Hanging in there.
co-hosting.
How about you, bud?
Yeah, I mean, well, I think we're all hanging in there, man. There's so much stuff that goes on every day, whether it's crypto, whether it's happenings in the geopolitical world and the forces. It just seems like it's so amplified these days. But let's workshop some stuff. We're going to talk a little bit about John Deaton did a really fantastic interview earlier today on a local TV news. Again, remember how the media is. Media usually leans pretty heavily left. John did pretty fantastic on there, but I want to get your take on some of the things that he was talking about and said. We might play one or two clips from the last debate if we have some time. And then there's some other clips we want to play that are more of the geopolitical sort of space, and we'll get into that. And then we'll talk about this poll that David Schwartz put up that involves you, Rob Licker. So we'll get into that poll. So much and more coming up. Let's go. Well, welcome everybody. Welcome to On the Chain. Guys, drop where you're coming in from. I see people are starting to flock in here. Howdy, B-Mac. What's up? What's going on? Chip London is in the building, and I always appreciate that because you guys are on a different time zone. So what is it, like 1 a.m. there, I think? Is it 5 hours ahead? Yeah, I think 1 a.m. over there. So you never miss it. You're always coming in late. XRP Plumbing. Good evening, fellas. I hope all is well. Well, it's going to be. We're going to talk about some stuff here in just a minute, but and we have special co-host here today, Rob Licker, joining, and Jeff's going to be out for a little. I think he's out for another week. He's got just a busy schedule. He's got a lot going on, and then he'll be back here to be like, "Whoa, what's it like doing a show with Jeff?" It'll probably be 2 weeks from the time we actually have been on the same sort of time together, but that happens. Sometimes I get busy, and then he's got to cover, and so on and so forth. But before we get into that, I wanted to throw this up here, Rob. There's something that Stuart Alderati put up here. And he said he was making an observation saying the Second Circuit will either affirm Judge Torres or expand her ruling. And the best the SEC can hope for, and it's a remote hope, is a remand. So during the SEC's fails interlocutory appeal, Judge Torres made it clear that Howey and all of Ripple's defenses, including fair notice, would then be back on the table. So the fair notice standard asks if a person of ordinary intelligence was aware that the law prohibited. The SEC could end up arguing to Judge Torres that she wasn't a person of ordinary intelligence when she ruled against them. Awkward. This case has always felt like Moby Dick, with Gensler starring as Captain Ahab, but now it's starting to feel like Moby Dick meets My Cousin Vinny. So this is going to be interesting because I do think that they're barking up the wrong tree. I really think by going forward and some of these things being thrown back on the table, Rob, I just feels to me like Ripple is in a great position to win yet again. What are your thoughts on this?
At this point, I don't understand the case anymore. I kind of agree with that assessment with the Moby Dick. And what's to be gained, and who's the injured party here, and how is the government protecting us? How is the state doing anything to protect the people? This is all about the vanity and ego of Gensler and the SEC. The small investors, retail investors who primarily own this token, we're the injured party here. Where's investor protection?
Right. And at this point here, what is, if you look at their major tenants, right, one of them is, there's three of them, but the one is to protect investors. And so by continuing to bash Ripple and go after this, like, what does that have to do with the investors, especially XRP investors, that were damaged once the SEC filed the suit? And we saw $15 billion be eroded from the market cap of XRP. Like, so how are those people being helped? Like, how are we making a dent for the people that lost big by a SEC? It just sounds like sour grapes to me.
Yeah, I kind of concur. I can only hope that, we get an administration change. I understand that, I don't know all the mechanics behind removing Gensler from office. I just hope that, Trump will ask him to step down, or, his term won't be renewed. And, hopefully we'll see an attitudinal change at the SEC in the new administration shortly.
Well, he can't get rid of him, right? He has to follow his term out. He could ask him to step down, but if we think what is going to happen happens. Let's suppose that the Republicans keep the House, they take the Senate, and then they own the presidency. They could pass a piece of legislation put forth by, I think Warren Davidson authored it, but and it might have been Tom Emmer. I might be getting confused. But basically, what it does, it restructures the SEC that gets rid of the chair. So as soon as they pass that legislation, he's dead.
Gone.
He's gone. Right. So there's no chair position. They eliminated it. And this is what a company does when they say, like, you're not getting let go. Oh, no. You're not getting fired. No. We've eliminated your position. So technically there's nowhere for you to show up every day. Right. So it's like one of these like things where if you restructure it, it no longer exists. And so there you go. What's up? Mike is in here. John Deaton for Senate. Yes. Go ahead.
I think even if that doesn't happen, I think that they'll find a way, either through subpoena, power of the purse, or whatever. They'll make his life just a living hell. He won't want to stay there. He'll just leave anyway. There will be no reason to stay. For what? To be a gelding and just sit there and get abused continually in Congress?
Pretty much. So WF Patsy says, retail investors are nothing more than ticket scalpers. No one cares about our money. You're right. And this is what the SEC's lost a touch of. And I had thought before, I did some research on this, and I had thought that no one had sued the SEC before, or they couldn't go back and sue the SEC. But there is a precedent set for that there was somebody that did get sued by the SEC. They lost. They went back and countersued them, and they won. So it has happened before. And I always thought, like, okay, well, that might be the next course of events. I mean, I don't know that in the scenario we're in. I mean, they were a little bit of a different scenario, but I would like to see that could particularly be. President names the chair. Yeah, president does name the chair, but he can't do anything to basically end the current chair, because once the current chair is put in there, it would be the next chair. And we hope it works out better than the last chosen one that didn't work out so well, that dropped a suit on Ripple. So, there's always that. That's going to be.
When does his term expire? 2026? I think it's 2026, right?
Yeah, I think it is 2026.
Yes.
But again, one of the smart, OTC fam will go out there and check. If you guys can go out there and check and report back for duty if you can. XRP Plumbing says he's going to do something boiling with him and Elizabeth Warren, and that letter and that email back and forth is going to bring up a case. Could be, because this is something that's actually the clip that I have from Deaton today that I did want to play. I wanted to play that clip. And then we had Fred Rispoli, attorney, he weighed in on this. He weighed in and said, in my opinion, it was a mistake for Garlinghouse and Larson to agree to only dismiss some claims, but not all against them. There are counter arguments against my take, to be sure, but I'd still go my way because, first, Garlinghouse and Chris Larson were in the driver's seat in the institutional sales claim that required a finding of recklessness. The SEC had zero compelling evidence to meet that burden, and the jury would have been pissed the entire time that the government was wasting time, probably a unanimous verdict. Second, Garlinghouse and Larson would have been able to bring out all of the evidence that has to this day been kept hidden by protective orders. That's another interesting take as well. Jay Clayton, remember him, appointed by Trump, dropped the lawsuit on Ripple. Has to this day been or Jay Clayton would testify, Bill Hinman would testify, the A16 folks would have to testify, Gary Gensler may have testified, all hung out in public, a free to use in every other crypto case. You'd be putting them on the record. And third, the trial would have delayed the SEC another year and energized every other crypto firm and battled in SEC cases. Fourth, the appeal would now be able to emphasize how weak the SEC case was to begin with, using the additional trial evidence. Appellate courts dislike overturning jury trials. So when you put in a verdict, especially a unanimous one in front of them, it would make Ripple's entire case instantly stronger, increasing the odds it wins on overturning institutional sales loss. So it's an interesting take, but again, they would have had to have gone to the jury. Things would have had to been different, and you would have had to get it in a unanimous. But I like where he's going with this, because it just speaks to the power of what could have been with Ripple and Larson and Garlinghouse. Any thoughts on that?
Where do you think this thing's going to end up? Do you think this is going to wind up going all the way to the Supreme Court, or it's going to be over before then?
Yeah, I mean, right now it's just about the programmatic sales, so I don't really care. I mean, I think a lot of people are getting lost in the fact that Ripple's okay. Ripple. Well, if we remember, the whole thing was a lot of people invested in XRP knew nothing about Ripple. Ripple is a private, is a centralized company, right? That it's private right now. It's got investors. It's invested $300 million in Ripple, and then you've got XRP, which is a decentralized asset. So why are we confused? the only one thing that we know is that XRP still isn't a security. That was never on the table. The SEC,
Right.
people have really missed it. Like they think they were going to like appeal that. No, that's the law. That's it. The only two things that really have clarity: Bitcoin, XRP. So to me, this is Ripple's case to fight. I mean, God bless them. I hope they win. I hope they embarrass the SEC, but who cares? I almost don't care. I mean, it doesn't bother me as an investor. I hope the best for them because I think they're going to do very well, but it has nothing to do with XRP. You
Right.
know, who cares?
Yeah.
That's sort of mine. Actually, let's see. Why is Ripple considering a sophisticated stock? I'm not allowed to buy it for my own good, as I can't understand on my own. Well, the stock that you buy through like a link to is a pre-IPO stock, and again, could be some risk. Those are people in the organization themselves selling out some of their shares, and it's a little bit risky. They never go IPO. They don't really need to go IPO, at least now. They might in the future. When the plane lists come out, Gaza, blah blah. We'll buy a ticket out of Washington. Well, there you go, Steve. Can't read that 100% on here. There's some other ones that I can't read either. But anyway, I thought we would just
the accredited investor thing. Back to another point. That point, if anyone cares, it's not under Trump. They actually softened that a bit. If you want to take a test on your own dime, your own time, you can actually become an accredited investor without meeting the income requirements or the asset requirements now. And that was changed under the first Trump presidency.
Oh, was it? I was unaware of that.
Every promoted a course on it. I think with King Solomon, even they can prepare you for it. You can, it's about 240 multiple choice questions. If you pass the test, I want to say it's series 63. It's one of the series. I don't know which one. I want to say 63, but I'm not sure if that's right.
Interesting.
And if you pass it, you're an accredited investor.
Right. So you basically, if you're, in other words, if you're smart enough to understand the rules of the road, or at least how it works, by passing the test, you don't need to be an accredited investor with the income requirement. Got it. Interesting. I did not know that. Yeah, I'd love to know more about that and see what that is. What are the chances the SEC goes after Larson and Garlinghouse's XRP as a sub to retail XRP? No, I don't think that's on the table. I don't think none of that's on the table. I mean, the thing is that this whole complaint never alleged any fraud by these guys. It just was it was a misguided complaint. It was 80 or 5 pages or whatever it was of nonsense, really. They started making up stuff, and they've just how about those Chiefs? Justin coming in here and razzing everybody on the Chiefs always. Justin Harrison is a Chiefs fan. I'm a Bills fan. The Bills won today handily, so that was also pretty good. And they play in, I think, 3 weeks. I don't know, Justin, when they play, 3-4 weeks. That'll be a good game. But yeah, that was I watched a little bit of that game, so it was interesting. It was this amazing shovel pass. I don't even know how Mahomes did it. He shovel passed it like 20 yards. He was like, and when you're running and you shovel pass something, that's hell of an arm right there to
Did he work? Some kind of new pass he was working on this year. They were showing in a preseason. I don't know if that was. I didn't see that particular play, but I saw something in the preseason he was working on. It was like some kind
I
of.
don't know. It could have been that.
Yeah.
It's like when you're running forward and you throw it like this, right? Because you have it, and then he sees a guy coming across at a slant, and he just hits him perfectly. And I was like, "Damn, that was one hell of a pass."
Actually, what it was, he threw a pass behind his back. That's what it was.
Oh, did he?
And he went. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I remember that one. Yeah.
Guy's a freak.
Mahomes is like, he's the guy. Even when he's injured, you can't stop the guy. I mean, he's incredible. I mean.
Yeah.
So November 17th. All right, man. November 17th. Is that a night game? Is that like a primetime game, or is it just like a regular Sunday type game? That would be cool if it was like a primetime. Chiefs rule, says Mike. Yeah. So let's go in. Let's move right along here. I want to get to this poll right here. So this poll, David Schwartz puts up a poll. And Rob Licker comes in with the master with some savage level trolling, and then it kind of got a little bit out of hand. It kind of went a little crazy sideways. But here's the poll that David Schwartz put up about Elon Musk, right? Because he's always on the Elon Musk train. He like hates the guy, always battling about X is a bad place and it's changed so much and it's full of Trump people and all this other stuff. Meanwhile, it's an open, free platform with free speech. Thank God, right?
100%.
And here we go. So
free speech.
It's free speech. You say what you want, you know, and the free speech, the best way to describe free speech is it's the speech you like, but it's the stuff you don't like, you know, and there's no such thing. Like we've made it a hate crime. There's no such thing as a hate crime. If somebody
Right.
wants to say whatever, they can say whatever. If you don't give them an audience, you shut them down, right? If they're being an
Right.
asshole, you shut them down. You don't give them that space, or there's a
Right.
way, but this is the whole thing. We've put all these like little things around like, oh, you can't say that, or disinformation, which is, you know, this whole like, and Elon Musk said it best. He was, who decides on misinformation? The government? Which people? Like, who's going to decide on that? He puts this up. He goes, Elon Musk question mark hero. That's what I selected. You can see my selection right here, Rob. A James Bond villain that got 7.6%, right? Almost 50% of the poll was a hero. Austin Powers villain, 13%. And then just show results. Now, I don't like just show results because just show results skews the poll. I would rather put an all of the above and force someone to choose one of the three or not even vote. Because if you say, because why should just, you know, I mean, I see heroes, the big one, but sometimes you'll see just show results will win. And it's like, well, what's the point of putting a poll up if that's going to win? So it is interesting that hero was by 50% pretty strong. So counter to what you think, David. People like Elon Musk. So there you go. It's just a bunch of Trump people. Freaking freaks. You're freaks. So Rob comes in and puts up his own poll. Rob's like Joel Katz, leftist grifter, James Bond villain, or Austin Powers villain, and then show the answers, right? Well, show the answers did win in this poll, but the next one, if you just cancel this one out, leftist grifter with 34, almost 35% of the vote total. Again, it was very similar in kind of the skewed a little bit, right? James Bond villain to Austin Powers, very similar in nature, but a lot of people want to just see the answers because maybe they didn't want to vote. But leftist grifter is the one that won, Rob. So when you put this up, how did you think this was going to go? When you were like, you know, in your front of your keyboard, you were like thinking of this. What were your thoughts on this?
I had something else in my mind, and they changed it when I put it up. And when I finally put it up, and it just popped into my head. Leftist, like it would completely fry his mind if I put leftist grifter. And sure enough, that was the right choice.
Dude, that's some epic trolling right there, man. Oh my God, that's some insane stuff. Schwartz needs to chill. Did he by accident save free speech or data program his AI model? Yeah, I mean AI model, yeah, that's part of it, but so what? That's, you know, if you don't like it, you can leave. I mean, that's how it works. By the way, I hate to say it, but what do you think every other platform uses your data? They all steal your data, and they don't even tell you. And that's come up in Congress. So they all use your data. At least he was upfront about it and said, yeah, we're going to use it for programming. But most people miss and understand what AI is, so they have zero understanding. So they're like, oh, my data is going to be used for training. Yeah, training. So what? I mean, training has nothing. If you train a large language model with billions of inputs, your whatever you're doing is inconsequential, right? So it's not going to really matter that much. So are there limits to what we can say in the chat without being ejected? Well, I said something in a chat not too long ago, and it wouldn't put it up there. So I had to. Do you really want to word it that way? And I was like, yeah. I mean, so I had to reword it. It wouldn't let me put it in there. So there are things you can test it, but I'm telling you, it will get you. Joe Buddy says Elon is a hero to the world. Only libtards refuse to admit it. Schwartz has a lib disease. How much money has Elon made for his investor versus Schwartz? Ooh. So there you go. So anyway, so he puts up this poll, and then Joel Katz Schwartz puts up this poll and says Rob Licker licks Rob's, engagement farmer, picks nose in public.
Oh, he says enragement farmer. It's not even engagement farmer. I don't know if that's his typo or he meant
enrage.
That.
Oh, you're right.
You're
right. It's enragement farmer, not engagement. I think he meant enragement. That's funny because I read that as engagement farmer. Enragement.
I did too. Yeah, it's enragement.
You're enraged, Rob. You're enraged. He picks those in public or just show the results. And I was like, so I came with my own poll. I came behind that and said, here's a poll you missed. Rob Licker is a badass, an XRP OG, a savage troller. Just show the results. And so, like, yeah, badass sort of won out if you get rid of the just show the results, and you were neck and neck with a XRP OG and a Savage Troller. So they're actually all pretty equal. Look at 19.1%, 19.1%, and 22. So
Yeah.
again, I thought I shouldn't even put. I was gonna say I was actually gonna put all of the above. I was
Right.
gonna put all of the above there. That's what I was. Then I said,
No
no,
worries, man.
let me keep in line with the other polls. So I
Right.
sort of did that,
That's
right?
kind of why I put it. I was just trying to copy it. I thought it was more of a troll to just kind of ape or mirror what he was doing to goof on him.
Right, and that's what you were doing, goofing on it. But I was just shocked he put that up. So I immediately screenshot it because I'm like, there's no way he's leaving that up, right? I
Mhm.
just see Ripple HR and Ripple PR getting a hold of that, like going after an OG in the space, like that's crazy, right? Neil Hartner, who's a programmer, a dev over there at Ripple, said, "Man, these polls escalated quickly." he's like, he's like, "Wow, that escalated pretty quickly."
You know, he doesn't
And
really
then,
come out that guy, but I have a feeling he's a closeted Trumper. He kind of he's not really in a mold of the rest of the crew over there. Look at some of his stuff. I don't think he's a little
yeah,
bit more
I kind of get the
on
same
board with
impression.
what?
I kind of get the same impression that he's not really all in leftist. He seems to be
No, he's not.
every once in a while he puts something out there and he kind of like walks it back a little bit, you know.
Right.
So yeah, and he'll put stuff up there. It's kind of like real subtle, but not so subtle. But I kind of feel like you're right about that. And then Rob says, "Now you're just being petty." He said, "And lowering yourself to picking on little people. Perhaps you're not as intelligent as you fancy yourself. The ancestral name was Likier, and I'm probably not pronouncing that right, Likier. When my grandfather came
Yeah, that's
from
it right
Poland,
there.
Likier,
Yep. Like
yeah.
here.
When my grandfather came from Poland over 100 years ago, a government hack like yourself changed it to liquor. This is funny. A government dude, you refer to him as you're explaining it to him. You call him a government hack like yourself. He did used to work for the NSA, so maybe it's an appropriate statement. I don't know, but so you're still trolling him, and you also put up. By the way, do you have? Can you put that in the private chat so I can pull it up? The what you tweeted out this morning with Trump, if you have that handy.
Yeah. I'm gonna do it right now.
Yeah, throw it in the private. Just throw the link in the private chat, and I'll throw that up there because I don't know. And then somebody said it's quite funny though, and then Rob said, "Well, to be honest, I thought my tweet was a tiny bit more clever. Goofing on my last name is kind of like low hanging fruit. I'm surprised he didn't go for the Did your parents ever consider naming you Richard shtick. 52 years with that name, and I'm still around. Yeah." And people are like, "What do you mean? Well, what do you call Richard for short? You call him Dick, you know?" So it's like, but I'm sure you heard enough of that, right? I'm sure that was something you heard.
I was always kind of I could roll with the punches, and I was nimble on my feet, and before I hurt my back, I was about 6'1", about 270. So, and not that I was always a mean guy or a bully, but I made out okay. It
Yeah.
was never
And
too much
then
of an issue.
Jim Pickerel said, "Cowardly keyboard warriors scamming people to fund leftist commie agenda is the only thing on Twitter less valuable, and XRP is David's thoughts and opinions." Bam! People weighed in on this stuff, dropping some Bob. Nah, a lot of people kind of weighed in on that, but you also kept going with the joke, and you put that tweet out today. I don't know if I can find. I probably can just find it on your. Let me just go look on your.
Private chat. How do I? I'm not totally familiar with this. I'm trying to think of
Just
how to
click on that private chat
drop
link
that
on
thing
the right there, and then just drop in the link there. That
from
should.
X.
Yeah, no, here in the software here. You
I
should
know,
see
but
some.
I copy from X and drop the link
Yeah,
into the private chat.
yeah, drop in the private chat, then I can grab it,
Okay,
and then I can
I'll
grab
drop one
it,
I
and
made.
I'll and then
You know what's kind of
so
funny about the thing I made from X?
oh, I got
I
it right
use
here. Hang
Grok.
on.
I
Oh,
use
this right here.
Grok.
Yeah, here it is right here. So I found it. So we're good. Hang
Okay.
on. So there it is right there.
I
So
wonder if they were
Trump
really
says,
throwing David's ass even more, Chip. I use Grok to make that photo. So thank you, Elon.
there you go. So you're trolling him with some grok stuff. Licks Robs, and then it says, "I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message." See, so the trolling continues. You tagged him in it, but he didn't. He didn't. Did he say anything? No, he didn't say
No,
anything. No, didn't come back with anything. No. Well, there you
I
go.
offered him a peace. I offered him a peace offering, but I haven't heard.
Well, that's sort of the way it goes, man. I mean, what are you going to do? That's how it works sometimes. All right, let's take a look at this. Let's take a look at the Deaton interview today from earlier. Let's take a look at that, and we'll get into this a little bit and start workshop this a little bit. This was on local TV. He was on there. He came on the same show. I think it's a Boston area news channel. And he was on this earlier when he was in the primary, but they start, asking him some questions. But let's listen in and we'll sort of comment.
So joining us in studio to talk about the Senate race is Republican John Deaton. Thanks for coming back on that issue. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure.
All right, so you were here during primary season several months ago. Since that time, have you found that voters have a better sense of who you are and asking more about your policies rather than your background and biography?
Yeah, and I think the fact that in the primary I got 65% of the vote despite 3 people on the ballot, it was resonating with them. Once they learned who I am, my policies as a centrist, common sense person, I think, and nonpartisan at that, I think they're ready for that. I think they're ready for that kind of leadership.
We had Senator Warren on a few weeks ago. We asked her about your candidacy. This is what she had to say.
3 crypto billionaires recruited him out of Rhode Island to move to Massachusetts. And then they put $2.5 million into a super PAC to run ads so that he could get the nomination. The 2 Massachusetts Republicans who ran against him didn't have that kind of money. So he ends up winning the nomination. And now the crypto billionaires are hoping that they will be able to buy this seat.
So leading figures in the...
Well, first of all, what do you think about Warren's take on this whole thing anyway?
So I'll say, the unfortunate sad reality is it's Massachusetts, and it's any Democrat will do. And I saw some polling data that the biggest objection people had to John Deaton, the first thing was that he was a Republican. And the second thing was he's an unknown. But there is no more corrupt senator in the Senate. She's horrific. She sponsored, like Deaton said, 1 piece of legislation she sponsored in her whole career. She's completely on the grift. She takes money from the banks. The whole thing with Epstein, it's brutal. I don't know how anyone, if you can look beyond, you're rooting for a team, that you're rooting for Democrat or you're rooting for Republican, just look at the person. It should be the person, not the policies. And the policies, not the person. And she's just terrible. I don't know how she's a horrible candidate.
But she was unknown too. I mean, she was a professor, right? She was a law professor. I mean, that's nobody knew who she was. Who by the way, pretended to be
good, Chip. That's the problem.
Well, she also pretended to be Native American her whole life because her papa or her mama or whatever said she had high cheekbones. I'm like, well, that's a hell of a grift right there, right? Until she actually, it was Trump that actually had her take the test. And she was like, you could actually take a dart, go off in any like Midwest city and probably hit somebody in a crowd, and they might be more Native American than her. She was like less than 1/10 of 1% or something like that. It was ridiculous. I mean, my God. I mean, she's out there parading around like, she's in the whole thing.
My friend's wife. My friend's wife is from Sweden. That's what she.
Yeah,
well, the blonde hair and the blue eyes. Come on, it's a joke.
Yeah, of course. Don't worry. She's Jungle's in here popping bottles right there, baby. There he is. So
what's up, Jungle
Inc. in the house. Let's listen in a little bit the rest of this.
Crypto industry have contributed to your campaign. Every time I post something about you or retweet something about you, I get overwhelmed on my X account by
boo-hoo. Oh no, the crypto people came in to attack the leftist journalists. Oh, boo-hoo.
Crypto pitches. I've actually had to mute them, which if you know me, I rarely ever do. Is that a fair criticism?
Well, listen,
is that Rachel Maddow?
Super PAC.
They all look like Rachel. It's not.
That is more about her than it is me, because she's trying to ban an entire industry. Her bill bans the self-custody of Bitcoin in America, but they just granted permission to the big banks to custody crypto. And so the industry is more about her. She's earned their motivation. I can't help what happens to a super PAC. My personal campaign is not. I have small-time investors. The people that I think are inundating you, I sued the government, and I did it pro bono, and I won Lawyer of the Year, Consumer Advocate of the Year, and won the Defender of Freedom Award because I took on the SEC that was hurting small-time holders of crypto. And I won. A lifelong Democratic judge appointed by President Barack Obama said, I agree with John Deaton, cited my legal work, which was all done for free. It took me 3 years of pro bono work. And so I became a little bit of a folk hero to the crypto holders because I did all that for free. But the real question is why is Senator Warren, when she announced her reelection, during the first debate, John Keller brought up the fact that when she announced her reelection, she announced that she was going to build an anti-crypto army. Why? We have the immigration issue, we have debt issue, we have opioid addictions, we have foreign wars, you know, and the world's fallen in chaos, and inflation so bad here in Massachusetts. Why would our senior senator focus on crypto?
But to just play devil's advocate for a second, lots of people get concerned that in emerging new businesses, you know, if we look back on Facebook and we look back at what's happening with Instagram and we look at what's happening, they say that people in Congress don't react quickly enough. We know that they're working on wars. We know that they're working on all these things. Who else is looking out for crypto either way, like in a good way or a bad way? If Elizabeth Warren isn't doing it, who would be doing it?
I've been doing it. I did it.
Well, you're not elected yet. I'm saying for the, you know, to criticize her for taking it, you could disagree with what she's doing, but taking it on as an issue, shouldn't they be doing that?
Well, yes, and what I was meant to say to you is that if you look at what I've done, I've been calling for regulation. I'm not anti-regulation. We're applying 1930s law to artificial intelligence and blockchain technology. Senator Warren's approach, though, is to ban it. You don't ban it. You know, there's been less than 1% of crypto's been used for illicit purposes. Hamas actually issued a directive, don't use crypto because it's so traceable. You know, ATM machines have been used in a bad way for drug deals. You don't ban the technology. And so her approach is just too extreme. But I believe in smart, tailored regulations. If the Congress would have done its job and given some guidance on this new technology, the FTX thing would have never happened because people were going overseas to these offshore exchanges. But I believe in stablecoin legislation. I believe in making sure that we have audits of these exchanges. And I believe that customer funds should always be segregated from the centralized entities funds. So I just want the viewers and everyone to know, I do support regulating this industry. It's the one thing that's held it back.
So if you were to look at Sue's
How's he doing so far, Rob? How's he doing so far?
I'm zoning out here. I got a 13-year-old cat that's terrorizing me. She's jumping up and down all around all over.
I heard something in the background there. I was like, I hear clickety click, click, click.
Yeah, here she goes, right in front of the screen. 13 years old.
Boy, that's a big cat. She hasn't missed many meals, that one, boy. Ooh.
No.
Oh.
One thing I would bring up about the Deaton thing, I didn't hear this, but you said you listened to the second debate. I heard very cynically and very dishonestly, she mentioned that John Deaton defended Ripple, implying that John Deaton actually was paid by Ripple in the debate.
I don't know I don't know when I heard that. When did we hear that?
I believe that happened in the second debate. If somebody wants to fact check it and check it out, but I believe she actually implied or straight up accused him that Ripple actually paid him or employed him to represent them in the case against the government, that he was like a crypto bro being paid, not the pro bono. She tried to distort his record.
Yeah, well, that she did a lot of. She attacked him personally, but he's tearing it up. He's explaining things that people who have no idea what he's talking about, but it sounds good to them. Yeah, that's good. That's a good analysis. So let's listen. We're about halfway through this, but I think he's just very even. The presentation's very good. He's really good at conveying the ideas. Comes off very genuine, and this is good. They're asking questions, and he's answering questions. This is more than we get from Vice President Harris. She doesn't answer any questions, and when she did, everyone had
one thing in Massachusetts, and I'll say even in California, like Brad Sherman, these states, these really big blue liberal states, Liz Warren she's squawking about investor protection and protecting little people. You know what? If you want to do that, get rid of the lottery. How many people gamble their whole life savings away, and they have nothing to say about that? Why don't you ban the lottery? Start there.
Well, how about starting with her 400,000 tenured professor salary? She taught like 6 credit hours, right? So you're talking about someone that makes $400,000 a year, but she's not fighting against the universities for. I mean, look at some of the universities in Massachusetts, $80,000 a year, $120,000 a year. I mean, this is insane, right? I mean, so she's never, because when you take part in the system, the corrupt system, and you benefit from it, you're not so worried about it anymore, right? You're not worried about insider trading because you're inside and you get to hear and benefit from things that you see stuff with. And it's like, well, you can take part in that because, he brought up in the debate that she became a multimillionaire after going there to Congress. How? How do they become multimillionaires? Yeah.
How? On her salary.
And why isn't she volunteering to pay half of it to step up and set an example and say, look, I'll take 25% of mine and I'll donate it because I'll donate it to the government. She's always telling us how the government's great, how good it's going to be. So,
Right.
all right, let's listen in here.
You would forgive her for thinking that some of these folks are single issue voters and it's just the crypto issue.
Yeah.
How do you translate your stance on crypto and your role in this sort of emerging field to other issues like immigration,
right.
like security and climate change and things like that? How do you talk to those voters who love you for the crypto stuff but may not know what your other policies are?
Well, you know, that's been the challenge because unfortunately crypto has taken way too much of time and energy, because if you were to ask everyday people here in the Commonwealth to name the top 10 issues, I assure you crypto's not one of them. And so I agree with that. You know, the problem is we live in such a divisive world. My biggest challenge is that I'm a Republican in Massachusetts who doesn't support Donald Trump. And so I've offended some Republicans with my stance, and it's getting the voters that are Democrats and the moderates to see who I am. It's just a name issue. You know, we did some polling that showed that if they don't know anything about me, I lose by 20, 25 points. Let's just be honest. When they learn that I'm pro-choice and I'm a veteran, it's a single-digit race. And then when they really get to know me, I'm having lifelong Democrats say, you know what? This guy's safe. This guy's a good guy. He's in it for the right reasons. I can trust him, unlike what Senator Warren's saying.
All right.
All right, so what are your thoughts about that? What do you say about two things? He's pro-choice. Two things that don't jive with Republicans is pro-choice and anti-Trump. What are your thoughts on there?
I mean, I'm not particularly crazy about these things, but you know, he's up against a certain reality. You know, a MAGA Republican is not going to win in Massachusetts. It's just not going to happen. So he has to kind of, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is, and I think you know he's very understanding. But if you look at his platform, immigration, inflation, you look at it, it looks eerily like the MAGA agenda. But I understand where he's got to come from. The one that is a little bit of a surprise, though, is the pro-choice stance, because he'll talk a little bit more about that in this interview here. But that's a little bit different. You know, the pro-choice is usually, it's not a Republican stance, you know, as a party. So that's something where he differs, that, you know, again, but I think that was something too, that's been one of the big sort of issues there, but he'll talk a little bit more about it.
So I've been watching a lot of Kamala Harris, talking with a lot of Republicans. The Cheneys are behind her. A lot of guys with phones that they wear on their
How is that a win?
belts are with her.
The
There's a
liberals are
lot of
celebrating.
prior.
Darth Vader is now supporting a warmongering neocon. How is that a win? I don't understand that. 15 years ago, they burst
hated
into
him.
flames.
Oh, this is what's so bizarre. It's like they hated Dick Cheney. Liz Cheney, she got embarrassed. I don't think any Republicans ever been more upset in a re-election campaign than her. She lost by like 60 points. She just got destroyed. And but now they're like touting Cheney and Republicans and Mitt Romney's, you know, all the rhinos that are for her, you know, the George Bushes of the world. I mean, the rhino neocons, right? This is how the party is flip-flopped. It used to be the party of the working man. It no longer is. It used to be the party of, you know, the anti-war. That's not the case anymore. Donald Trump brought peace for 4 years. It's great. I think we're living in crazy town, Rob. That's what I really think.
I live in New York, Chip. I can attest. I've seen crazy stuff the last couple of years.
That's right. You live in New York, man. You're right in the seedy underbelly of Hochul and you know, Mayor Adams, and
we're being totally gaslit. These politicians, when they get out there and they say things aren't bad, it's absolute nonsense. It is not normal to go into a store and 99 candy is locked up. Candy. That is not normal. I don't care. I've worked in New York City for 25 years. I've never seen it before. Candy locked up.
yeah, well, because they take it and they sell it on the streets, or they give it. You know, when I went to New York and I saw like almost everything's locked up. Like you can't even like you have to have somebody come unlock it.
Yes.
Then you have to, because I want to like read the ingredients. And I want to, you know, you're browsing, right? You want to look at the next one, and they get all like they're standing over your shoulder, looking at you with the key, getting ready to lock it back up. And I'm like, I don't know which one I'm going to buy. I'm going to buy this one or that one. I'm not sure yet. I want to see if the ingredients are the same, you know. And they're standing over your shoulder, like, okay, I'm going to lock it right back up again. So, yeah, I mean, if you didn't have the influx of illegals and the massive, you know, crime, yeah, that wouldn't be a problem. It was on honor system. You walked into a store, you bought something, you brought it to the counter, you paid for it. Not anymore. People would just clear stuff out in the bags. And then that was it. I mean, they're hitting malls, they're hitting jewelry stores. I mean, what's gone on with this country, man? Where's the respect? It's completely gone.
You know, I still live in New York, but I fled New York City. I'm glad that I got out. It's the best decision I ever made. I'm handcuffed to New York, golden handcuffs. But in my development where I live, there's probably 15 Trump flags up. I'm in District 3. I hope Michael Petrie wins. He's running against Tom Suozzi. I don't know if he has a chance, but it's, you know, it's such a stark difference. When I go to like the CVS by me, I can use the bathroom. It's clean. Nothing is locked up. It's nobody follows me around, and it's unheard of that nobody. You can ride a store and leave your bicycle in front, and nobody's going to steal it.
Oh my God.
This is what normal should be.
Not anymore, man. It's the new normal.
All sorts of Republicans are voting for her. Are you going to vote for Kamala Harris?
No.
Who are you going to vote for?
I'm going to write in a name. I'll tell you why. And it's interesting, Vice President Harris, if you look at her policies, they're more in line with me than Senator Warren's, including on crypto. She wants to do a reset on crypto, for example. But I voted for Joe Biden last time. And it's because he promised that he would go from the center. He even bragged that he had worked with white segregationists. He could work with anyone. He would unite this country. And that didn't happen. And I see Vice President Harris right now doing the same playbook, going to the center, promising it. And so, you know, I was fooled the first time. And what I'm saying is, to me, it doesn't matter. I know it matters to most people. Right? To me, I'm going to have one test. Is it good for Massachusetts and America? Sue, if it's good for Massachusetts and America, they could call it liberal. Corey, they could call it conservative. I don't care. I'll vote for it. If it's not, I won't. And I think that's what we got to get back to.
So square that circle for us. If your views you feel are closer to Kamala Harris, why not just pull the lever for her? Why not vote for her?
Because it's an election year, and she's doing the same playbook that Joe Biden did, which is to say we're going to just go to the center now. And I just got fooled the first time. I think that we have to answer this question in this country. And I tried to do it on the debate stage, as you know, which is, why is this election even a toss-up? Why did 74 million Americans vote for Donald Trump the first time, despite everything we know? They're not all racist xenophobes. We can't take that position. These are good people who believe the country's heading in the wrong direction. We need leaders to say why. Senator Warren was asked that question. Why is he so popular? Why is this race even close? She threw her hands up in disgust and said, I just don't get it. Well, I think it's your job to get it.
This is an interesting take here. So his approach here is he's not going to vote. That he did vote for Biden. Biden promised, but I mean, Biden's been around for 50 years. Biden's never told the truth about anything. Plagiarist. I mean, you know, you name it. Graduated the last of his class. Almost got kicked out of law school. Just an absolute joke. So, but I do think he makes a really good point. It's amazing how he in his sort of standing up for his belief system also sort of brings Trump into it and makes Trump okay, saying that you can't demonize 50 million, you know, half of the people in the US. You can't demonize 50 million. You can't call them all xenophobes, right? You can't call them all racists. Like, how is that possible? So I do see what he's trying to do is sort of like to bring people together. Like, yeah, you might not agree with it, but sitting there calling them names. What's your take on that?
I have one point I totally disagree with him on. You know, a lot of the ETH bros, some of the left wingers in crypto. First of all, I don't understand how you could be in this asset. I don't understand how you could be in this space and come from the left. Either you believe in giving people power and letting people make their own choices and have self-determination, or you want things being controlled. This is all about returning power to people. So if you're coming at this from the left, I don't understand why you're for this. I don't believe for 1 second she's pivoted at all. It's word salad and lip service. It's nothing. She could have went to the Bitcoin conference, made an appearance, taken her lumps, and said, I'm going to try to do things differently than Joe Biden. And she couldn't even do that. She could have just done that one basic thing, and she didn't do it.
Right. And of course, the Alice Smith dinner, she could have shown up there, but instead she chose to insult Catholics by making a horrific video from an SNL character from 30 years ago that nobody even knows who it is and remembers. To her claim to fame is smelling her armpits. I mean, her fingers in her armpits. Like, it was a poor, I mean, you have all of Hollywood behind you, and that's what you come up with. It's pretty pathetic in a lot of ways. But Let's listen to the rest of this interview. We're almost through this here.
You know, you can't indict half of America.
Correct.
You know, we got to get back to being able to say, let's say Sue and I disagree with the president. We got to be able to get back to say, I disagree with who you're voting for president, but I don't disagree with you. You know?
You get elected, what are the top 3 issues at the end of your first term that we'll say you worked on?
It'll be a term limit bill, it'll be the codification of Roe versus Wade, and it'll be trying to force government to talk about balanced budgets once again in this country. And the fourth one would be pro-innovation. We got to get regulatory clarity to artificial intelligence, automation, robotics, blockchain technology. We have to make sure we're the leader moving forward when it comes to innovation, including renewable energy.
If you win, will you be John?
Okay, I want to stop it right there. So some of the things he wants to do, he wants to codify Roe v. Wade. What he's saying there is he wants to make Roe v. Wade the law of the land, go back to, abortion is legal in all of the states. I disagree with that, but I want to hear your thoughts on it before I weigh in.
I think in some respects, I think we think similar on this. There have been instances in the past within the last few decades where the Democrats had all 3 branches of the government. They didn't do that. They didn't do it. Why? I find it interesting that the Democrats always are quick to brand, say the Republicans, and on the right, the conservative, the constitutionalists, we're extreme, but they'll never come out and specify what's extreme on their. They'll never specify what's extreme. When is too much? 9th month, after birth, up until birth. They'll never put a limit on it. Why is that? We're the extremists, but they won't themselves define what's extreme.
It's a good point. And Rob, I mean, I know this about you too, but you were not on the right your whole life, right? That's something newer in your world, right?
So I would say I was always kind of an oddball, to be fair. There were things I liked from each camp. Things happened during the pandemic that just completely blew my mind. I went down this crypto rabbit hole, and it literally has the effect of red pilling you and making you open your eyes and being aware of stuff. And I just have lost faith in our institutions. And there are things about President Trump. I don't even consider myself so much a Republican or, more MAGA. I like his platform. I like that he's America first. I like that he cares about us, that he wants to put us back to work, that he delivered peace, prosperity. He's not a dictator. Everyone says he's a dictator. He's a Hitler or whatever. Those type of people, they never leave voluntarily. They leave either at the end of a noose or with a bullet in their head. He left office. People have to realize that.
Right.
I'm more at this point MAGA. I like Trump's platform.
Yeah, I mean, I've voiced this many times that I've not been a Republican for 25 years. I mean, I was a registered Republican. I became a registered independent, mostly because I loathe most Republicans because they're feckless cowards. I mean, for the most part,
right.
Where the Democrats always stick together. I've always admired the Democrats because they'll always have each other's back and they'll always stick to the messaging. Where the Republicans are wishy-washy, they'll run to a microphone, they'll start bitching and complaining, but then they vote differently, right? So they're just pretty much gaslighting us for this whole time, telling us what we want to hear, but not following through with it. And the way I see is most of Congress is compromised anyway. It doesn't take long before they start digging the stuff, and then you're going to vote this way. So they can go to the microphone and complain and bitch, but they're going to vote a different way. Why? Because I see the speaker doing really weird things. I see all this stuff because they're compromised, because they're basically blackmailed, and they'll get exposed if they don't follow, if they don't do what they want, the powers and the elites to be. There's very few. There's a couple of them that they've tried everything, throwing stuff at them, and they haven't been able to nail them. There's just a few. There's maybe 3, 4, maybe 5 Republicans, but for the most part, I look at it the same way, Rob. I like the platform. I've been a Trump supporter. I've done business with the Trump organization. I've known the man for a while, pretty long time. I've met the man in person. I've always been a Trump guy. And the reason I used to be a creative director, I got out of that. And it was a book that I read called The Art of the Deal that I started being able to do some things. There were some things in my company I worked at the time that they couldn't get the deals done. And I went in there and said, well, give me a chance. They're like, what's the creative director going to do? I go, so I would do it. I'd get the deal done. I'd negotiate something. I'd renegotiate a contract. And they're like, how are you doing this? I'm like, I read some books. I didn't tell them I read Trump's book, but I read it. And I was at the first Trump rally, one of the very earliest Trump rallies in Boca Raton, Florida, in a little tiny park in 2011. And that's when he was thinking about running against Barack Obama in his second term. He decided ultimately the timing wasn't right, but it was the same platform, the same stuff, that he talks about today. So it's all there. Let's see, we're running out of time here. So I'm going to go ahead and let me, I saw Jungle's comment here. Let's see. Did I see it? Let's see. Let me just remove that out of there. He said he thought It was Mark Cuban. And then I saw this right here. Corporate needs you to find the differences in these two pictures. They're the same picture. But everybody's been calling Mark Cuban Rachel Maddow because of the, I don't know, the glasses, maybe the stance, whatever. It's been kind of a little bit of a funny thing. But I thought Deaton, look, he's got to do what he has to do. I admire the guy. He follows his heart. And even though I don't agree on some of his positions, I still supported him. I've donated to his campaign. I've supported him. And sometimes you got to just, take a deep breath and do it. You gotta suck it up. And you're not going to agree, but he's not bullshitting us. He's telling us exactly where he stands. And that's the piece that I appreciate, right? He's not going to I'll tell you what you want to hear. Like he said, yeah, I voted for Joe Biden, said he was going to unify, and all he did was do more alienation, right? And same with Harris. Now she's going to do this and she's going to do that. And all these things. Well, do it now. Do it now. Call for Gary. You go there, you do a speech and say, I'm calling, I'm doing a reset on a complete reset on crypto. I want to call for Gary Gensler. He's been totally unfair. I'm calling for his resignation. And if all of the rest of the Democrats got behind it, he'd resign. He didn't do any of that. Not even in the official platform. So it's more gaslighting, right?
Yep.
That's the way I see it. So let's see what else we got here from the grab bag here. Let's pull up some other stuff. I got some other videos we can take a look at. Just for something, I want to put this video. This is something I saw, and I've seen flavors of this before. But before we do that, I wanted to put this up. BMAC said, Watts, an immigration expert from the Center of Immigration Studies, said that the total number of illegal immigrants that entered the country since 2021 is of almost 10 million people. I think it's closer to 18 to 20 million. Jim D said the number of illegal aliens coming in since Carter to date is probably closer to 45 million. And he's spot on with that. So I definitely think that's more of what it is. But here's something, like if you think about Trump, some leftist was going back and forth with me, and I was like trying to paint Trump as the racist. I'm like, dude, there's so many countless stories of people he helped that he didn't want to be recognized for. And then people came out during his campaign and said, Trump did this for me 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. He wasn't trying to be recognized. He's always been a do-good, but this is his vision for America, and not a lot has changed.
You could make America perfect. How would you do it?
Well, I think that America is a country that has tremendous, tremendous potential.
Okay, I just recognize the fact that there's a song in here that I can't play, which is, unfortunately, it'll get.
Chip, one thing, I mean, I'm sure you've heard this too. Everyone bags on Trump, like you said, about the racist thing. It's legendary. It's known. Like 40 or 50 years ago, he was one of the first guys to allow blacks and Jews in his private golf course.
Correct. That's exactly right. And they're constantly on him about the fact that he's a horrible dude, he's racist, he's this, he's that. Grant Cardone, right? Grant Cardone.
Yeah.
So Grant Cardone was he put up this video, and I thought it was interesting. So I want to get your take on this.
Hey guys, Grant Cardone here. I have my Trump 2024 Take America Back. Again, look, you need to put a sign in your front yard. You got to put a sticker on your car. Rock a 10X merch. Get out there. Let people know who you're voting for. Let's take our country back. It's time. Make this a landslide victory and send a message to the liberals. We're done. We're finished. It's over. Take our country back. Let's go. Trump 2024.
He's got a shirt on. Don't be a little bitch.
I got my signs out on my lawn. I put them up on Twitter the other day.
It's amazing to see, though, that your neighborhood in New York has. Do you have any Harris walls? Is there any signs in there?
A neighboring town to me, ironically, that's actually a little bit wealthier than the town I live in. I've seen more Harris wall signs there. Yeah, but not a tremendous amount. My neighborhood, I don't see any. It's overwhelmingly, I see tons of Trump signs. So my particular neighborhood, it's I have not seen one, but I've seen like 15 to 20 Trump signs out and a 60 house development. Okay,
well there you go. Interesting. So do you? Is it possible? Do you think Trump could take New York? Do you think it's winnable there? Do you think it's in a fair
out being whatever, not the salaries on day?
Wait a bit. Hang on a second. You're kind of cutting in and out here. Wait a minute, you're cutting in and out
I think
here,
on a
Rob.
fair day, you hear me now?
Yeah, I hear you now. Go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
So I think without any chicanery, I think without the Reverend Al getting out the vote on voting day in South Queens, it's possible. I mean, I see so many people they can't stand. I just don't see any enthusiasm for her. And in most of New York this year, originally upstate, most of New York it's all red. It's just New York City.
That's so crazy. That's funny. Remember Dennis Miller when he used to have the Tears for Fears song as his open? He paid more for that song than he did in his house in Santa Barbara. Yeah, of course, man. Love listening, says Mark. Show keeps it real. Absolutely. Yeah, if it's not cheated, yeah, that's the thing. I think it's going to be very difficult too. But again, I mean, when you start passing stuff in Michigan saying you can't contest the election, well, why not? If it's fair, open everything up and recount it. Why wouldn't you? It's just, to me, this is crazy. Like, I mean, it's almost like giving yourself permission to cheat, right? I mean, to do bad things. It just makes almost no sense.
I think New York too, and the push with Trump going to Coachella and other stuff in New York, California, it may not be so much about winning these states, but RFK brought this up. He had that great video. Everyone should go watch it, when he really said, "Don't vote for me. You want to know what to do? The right thing to do is go out and vote for President Trump, no matter where you live. Because if these people get elected, you can't vote them out of office, and it will be the end of free speech." He's a great patriot, in my opinion, for endorsing President Trump like this. But he said, they have to win the popular vote and the electoral college. So I think Trump wants to outcompete in these states and overperform and win. This is too big to rig. We have to win the popular vote. We have to win the electoral college, and that's how he's going to make America great again.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I do think it takes a special human like Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to be able to tell people that. But also too, I want this guy slashing, going out there and getting rid of all this garbage they put in our food. To me, it's just, if you look at the ingredients in our food and they go like, here's the ingredients in Europe. There's 2 ingredients: potatoes and salt and oil, right? I mean, and then here we got all these, here's our McDonald's fries. It's like, and we have an obesity problem, but a lot of stuff, we have so many processed foods and what they're able to put in these foods and what all this garbage stuff. And he wants to make America healthy again. And I support that because I know that this guy is passionate about it and he's going to bring it, right? So I feel like that's going to be good. Tulsi Gabbard, she was, she's another one, an ex-Democrat who, again, would be great in the administration. You got Elon. Remember when he bought Twitter, that he got rid of 75% of the people, and they said it's going to collapse.
Exactly.
Nothing happened. He was able to run it. It's better than ever. I mean, there's still some legacy weird stuff in the code once in a while, but imagine he goes in and cuts 75% of government garbage, right? And then Trump gets rid of more of the regulations. Like, this is a change election like we've never seen one before. You got somebody who, Elon Musk, former Democrat, voted for Biden. You got somebody, like RFK Jr. I mean, it's even criminal what they did to him. The Kennedy family is legendary Democrats, and they wouldn't even let him compete to run. This is crazy, right? In 2020, they got him out. They would not let him run because why? He's a Kennedy. He probably would have done well, and he's I don't always agree with everything he says, but you know what? He's a sharp speaker. Like he can do an hour. Give him a topic, he'll go an hour. He doesn't need a teleprompter. He's very well versed. Right. He knows what he's talking about. He knows what he believes. But I mean, like, their own party destroyed him. And so I look at him. Someone like him is like a guy like Kennedy. Imagine someone like Kennedy in the administration, RFK Jr., Tulsi Gabbard, Elon Musk. I mean, you're talking about a powerhouse to come together and start slash. And I'm like, when he's done with 75% of it, go in there and slash another 50%. I always think, Rob, what they don't want you to know about the government never shutting down, what they're always worried about, it's not that the government shuts down, it's that nobody cares. It gets shut down for 3-4 weeks and no one misses it. Nobody cares about it, right? It almost is like their own demise. It's like we don't miss it when it's shut down. We don't hear politicians bitch anymore. We don't hear anything. It's like silence for, silence is golden, like they used to tell you at the movies, right? It was like the best thing ever. But anyway, we are coming up on time. Go ahead.
Like you said, I've changed politically, and not to be like, I'm a huge fan of Bill Clinton, but in the 90s, he gave an amazing speech on the internet, and there was a bipartisan approach to it, where they said they wanted to have a hands-off approach to let it flourish and put, a free trade zone around it. And the internet flourished and it went crazy. This technology that we're into and we support, everyone knows. If you think the internet was big, this is potentially the internet of money, Web3. It'll be 10 times the amount of money that was brought in with the internet. Why are we not having a similar approach? The U.S. should be leading on this, not putting up fences around it and excluding it. We should be leading on this. We have to.
Rob, it's really well said, Rob. It's like what we really like. We've had a couple times where we've been able to see some things happen. The personal computer came in, sort of changed everything, right? Brought what used to be, you making a simple flyer. You couldn't do that. You had to go to some place and a printer and make that. And that brought it to the masses. And then, when the internet came along, now everybody could have a say. Everybody could blog. And then when YouTube came along, knuckleheads like me and Jeff, we can have guys like you on, then we can just sit there and talk. We can have a conversation. And what I love about doing this podcast the most is the what happens right here. This right here, this is what is amazing. I was up in Kingston, New York, and Albany, New York, and they were all Harris fans up inside of Woodstock and all the way through Harris signs everywhere, right? Getting perspective from, folks that are doing it live. Jeff and I used to make videos and upload them and this and that. And it felt like an echo chamber. And it was never as much fun as doing it live. Doing it live, as Jungle warned us, would be the death of our channel, which it ultimately became the death of our channel. When we were uploading videos about this topic and that topic, they actually favor that more than doing live streams. But doing the live streams is way more fun. And because if we didn't have this right here, Witless is nuts. Gretchen Whitmer, she's nuts. Call her Witless, right? Trump is leading among black men, right? I mean, the thing is they lost. We had JV the Great on the other day, and JV was going through it, and he was talking about the fact that what he thinks is going to happen is going to probably be a lot more. A bigger voting block than people think. But what I said was, I don't know about what his feed looks like, but my feed has as many black women that are sounding off, right? So they always say it's like the black man. I don't know. I have a feeling it's a lot of more black women than they think. And I think we're going to see in this election, but you can't go into New York and you can't give illegals these beautiful hotel rooms and these charge cards. The worst part of it is you have a cashier. And when they charge out with that card, it always shows the balance on the receipt. When you see a balance of $8,000 and you're sitting there wondering if you're going to have enough food to get for the kids for the week, and you see somebody and they're well dressed, I'm like, what gives, man? How can anybody not think to put America first? I'm like, the people that I know and immigrants that I know and that have come in this country, they did it right. And let's spend our time focusing on the people who are coming in here and have waited to get here, that are being put off when you're putting these other people ahead of them. They deserve to be here. I mean, people that go to university, they get a PhD, they can't stay. They can't stay. They can get a job. They can do really well. They can contribute to society. But no, we got to boot them out because we got too many illegals in here. To me, that doesn't make any sense. You got to focus on vetting the right people and bringing legal immigration and making that fantastic.
I couldn't agree more. And I think we have similar stuff on our background. We both have family members who are immigrants. And I know what my wife went through to become an immigrant. She was here for a long time. She spent so much money of her own money doing it the right way.
My wife too, immigrant.
Screw the system. She didn't cheat anybody. She didn't take advantage. She came over here as an au pair, worked her way up, and she did things the right way. We should have as much immigration. We need immigrants here, but do it the right way. Do it legally, vetted. Make sure we're getting the right people in here. And there shouldn't be any limits on it, but do it the right way.
Right, exactly. It's a beautiful giant door for people to come in, get vetted, but the amount of money, I mean, we had friends too, in Miami, like they spent 5 years, tens of thousands of dollars to come in here, and somebody has something special. I have a friend who's Brazilian, and one time he got into it with ICE when he was going through, as he was trying to become a naturalized citizen. He told the guy one time, he goes, the guy was just harassing him. He had his green card, and he was harassing him. What about this? What about that? And how often do you go to Brazil? And what about this? He said, the mistake I made? The guy's like, what? He goes, I came by plane. I should have just walked across the border. I was like, dude,
Yeah.
he goes, that was my mistake. I
Sad.
made the mistake, right? He goes, I came through the system. I came and did the things the right way, but I came by plane. If I walked across the border, no questions. So
Right.
that's some master level trolling right there too. But anyway, listen, Rob, fantastic. You know, we talk a lot, you know, off, you know, outside of here. So it's really great to have you on here and voice your opinions. And I think you bring a unique perspective, especially being a lifelong New Yorker. So you always keep me and, you know, and some of the other friends that we're in, you know, in a chat with, apprised of like what's going on there. So you have your finger on the pulse. Cause I'm a former New Yorker, but on the other side of the state, I grew up in the Western New York, but yeah, it's still something near and dear to my heart. And I always appreciate that. But I'll give you the last word before we get out of here. But thanks a lot for coming on today and you know, co-hosting.
No, great. I had an awesome time. I was on here once with you and Jeff earlier when I think maybe you guys were first starting out. And I had a lot of fun. It was, you know, I'd like to come on again soon, you know, again in the future, if you would have me. And I'd give a shout out. I have a lot of friends in the Expector community. I talk about that quite a bit. So I would give a shout out to my buddy Dirk and some of the people in the Expector community. And hopefully something will finally be successful in XRPL in 2025, whether it be Ripple or something else or YETIS or something. I just want to see that people realize there are other things possible on the XRPL besides Ripple. You don't have to rely on Ripple to make the XRPL successful. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well said, man. Jungle. Yeah. Well, good show. Yeah. It's really appreciate you guys coming in here. It's always the best. Thanks. It's so great to see everybody kind of popping in here, but you're absolutely right. I mean, you know, and I gotta say, Dirk's a great guy. I've had the really unique experience of hanging out with Dirk a couple times. One time in Miami for a weekend. The guy's first class. The guy's such a giving human being. He's got such passion, and he just really. I've never seen somebody more devoted who's a founder who will spend more time than anybody else investing in what it is. So I got to hang out with them 2 dinners. You know, a big knockdown. Amazing dinner. I was like, Dirk, man, he was like, he really rolled it out. He had no limits. What do you want? I mean, drinking like these incredible bottles of wine, you know, in South Beach, in Miami. And then I got the chance to hang with him. I have some fun stories we can tell another time, but I got to hang with him over in Australia. Right. And we got in his G-Wagon and we're driving on the road and Crypto Eddie's in the front seat. You know, and they drove on the other side of the road. I'm in the back seat. And we're going to the lunch place. And I'm like, Dirk, did you book something close? He goes, no, man, this is a great little place. Because he always knows what city. He always does the research. He always knows, like, it's got to be 5 stars. It's got to be amazing, right? He goes, and they're keeping it open just for us. And I'm like, dude, really? So we go there. And at some point, he realizes that, I guess we're going down the street. And he realizes drifts on the other side of the road. Until he sees a car coming, he goes, "Oh shit!" He goes, "I'm on the wrong side of the road." He drifts back on the other side of the road, and yeah, another fun story too is he drove down to Byron Beach, which is about an hour south, and so I'm with a bunch of friends. And they go, "Yeah, let's go to Byron Beach. It's this cool little beachy town, cool shops, beautiful surf. It kind of looks like California, beautiful flat beach, but giant rocks, almost like California." And we pull into this random parking lot. We're looking to park, and Jeff out of nowhere goes, "That looks like Dirk's G-Wagon." I'm like, "Yeah, Jeff, sure. I'm sure that's Dirk's G-Wagon. Sure. An hour south, just a white G-Wagon happens to be his." We pull in next to him. Who's in the car? Dirk and his girl. I was like, wow. And I'm like, "Dirk, what are you doing?" He goes, "My battery died." And so we get the jumper cables out, we pull out. He goes, "Well, we're here to rescue you, man. You didn't know we were here to rescue you, know?" So that was another fun fun little story. So we snapped a couple pictures and we got him going again. But he was like thinking, he was gonna have to wait another hour for someone to come rescue him because wherever he rented the G-Wagon from. But I was like, Jeff's like, "Yeah, that looks like Dirk's G-Wagon." I'm like, what is Dirk going to be doing an hour south at a little beach town? Sure enough, it was Dirk. So I had the pleasure of hanging with the guy. The guy is first class all the way. His project is first class all the way. Everything he's done with it, he's just the real deal. And it burns my ass to no end to think that he hasn't one of the most amazing projects on the XRPL. Hasn't gotten the support that it really should have. especially from
I think
Ripple.
that's a source of some of my animus towards Ripple. That they don't seem to support, and I don't understand the things that they do support. Sometimes it seems like they're extremely politically motivated and they're supporting things that they, amongst their friends. I don't get. That's definitely a source of some of my animus. Hopefully, I can meet Dirk one day. I have a Crown Council NFT, which is kind of unique.
Oh, nice.
So at some point, I'll get a chance to meet him. I'm sure.
Yeah, and he's I mean, when he's just I have nothing but amazing things to say about Dirk, and I do chat with him pretty regularly. But he's a good dude. He's one of the good guys in crypto. Can't say enough stuff. He's just a generous from his heart. He's gone out of his way to help a lot of people that no one will ever know about. No one will ever know about it.
Right.
I know about it.
Kind of like Trump.
I don't like Trump. Yeah, he's gone out of his way to really do good stuff, and he's not the guy that publicizes any of that. He's just not.
Right.
So, but anyway, I'm glad you brought Dirk up, and I'll tell Dirk, watch the rest of the show, man. We got some good vibes for you, my man. But that's all we can do here. And BMAX reporting on the ground. Yeah, but well, listen, we got a couple more shows to go. So if you want to join in again, man, happy to have you back on and do some co-hosting. So I don't even know when Jeff's coming back. I don't even know. I'm gonna have to hit him up and see. I think he's coming back next week. I don't know. But that's it. Appreciate it, man. Guys, we'll see you on the next one. Chip and Rob out. Let me get this ready to roll. That's the long outro. We want the short one.
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.